I'd like to welcome to the stage Joe Hilton and Matthew Williams, please. Give them a round of applause, guys. Come on, make some noise. Thank you. Is everybody okay? Are you all all right? Yeah, has everybody got plenty of water, plenty of drinks, plenty of sweets? Great stuff. Okay. So for our last... Okay, so I'd like to welcome you and thank you so much for coming here tonight. So can I start by asking you to introduce yourself and tell us what you do and why you do it?
Yeah. So I'm Joe. I'm a self-help coach specialising in personal growth and mental well-being. I run Semester Student Planner, which is bespoke planners and journals all centred around personal growth, well-being.
Oh, it just gave me goosebumps. It's so great. I just got to say, if you've not seen this, and it's really good. I've bought about 10 of these things over the last few years, and that is by far the best. It's adorable. Carry on.
Thank you. So, yeah, it's all bespoke. It's all centred around these tools, so personal growth, mental well-being. And then, so we launched Semester Student Planner out of fuel. And then recently we've launched a sister company, which is Growth Planner Company. Same framework, personal growth, well-being, but aimed at organisations and staff to improve their well-being and personal growth. So that's it in a nutshell. That's my passion. That's my bread and butter. It's what I love to talk about. I could talk about it all day long. But yeah, just our impact really is based on the challenges that we're facing as a society, which is there's a lot of poor mental health. I was one of those people. Me and Matt get on really well because of our similar stories, but we're just looking to improve this for people and give them the tools to support them in a proactive manner, really.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Matthew.
I'm Matthew Williams. Like George said there, I could talk all day long as well, but I won't. I set up Knockout Depression, a community interest company in almost exactly a year ago, March last year. And we use boxing to help people to better understand and manage their mental health. I've loved boxing since I was a kid, and I worked for the national governing body of boxing for 11 years. And like Joe, I've had my own struggles with mental health, and yeah, just combined a lot of kind of my own passions and interests in wanting to help other people address some of the gaps that I saw based on my own experience. And you know, boxing is just a fantastic metaphor. I mean, Steve mentioned about the importance of metaphor in terms of engaging people. And it's, boxing's a great metaphor for life, for struggle. And it can I'm always very interested in helping people think about things in a different way. And yeah, so that's basically what I do.
So explain that metaphor for me.
So I've got loads. I've got a metaphor for everything, but essentially, so if you take our strapline, for instance, I mean, particularly with men seeking help is a big problem. One of the examples I gave, Muhammad Ali knocked on his backside at the end of the 4th round against Henry Cooper. He was Cassius Clay at the time, not Muhammad Ali. And in the corner, his trainer split his glove to give him extra time to recover. And the point there, even the best to ever lace him up needed help. The other one is about vulnerability, people being very uncomfortable with being vulnerable. Every time a boxer throws a punch, they're vulnerable to getting knocked unconscious. And so you have to be comfortable with vulnerability. You have to learn how to manage in situations you're vulnerable and not be ashamed to be vulnerable. And, you know, I can go on forever, but that's just a couple of examples.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So as startup entrepreneurs, what drove you to start up socially conscious businesses?
Might be a bit of a strange answer, this one. Now, for me, I never started with the intention of it being a social enterprise. What I will say is, with my story, fundamentally, and it might sound selfish, it was always designed to help me. So I really struggled with my mental health. I was first introduced to this idea of journaling, and I always remember the reaction. I basically told the person who suggested it to me, I was like, I'm not a 5-year-old girl, I'm not writing Dear Diary, which I know sounds quite sexist, but that was my reaction. I was like, I'm not doing it. I was this ego. I was like, there's no way I'm using this tool. Then I started using it, and I was like, this is good. This really helps. So for me, I had a lot going on in my brain, basically, and by getting it out on a paper and planning and journaling and getting my thoughts out, it really, really helped me. So I realised there was something in this tool. And for me, I'm so passionate about planners and journals. Like, I literally, like you said there, I'm not blowing my own trumpet here. I don't think people can make them as good as us, and it's because I don't think people have as much passion for these tools as we do. Myself,
No, that is really good. That is really, really fabulous.
So it's myself and Nathan. So, like I say, for me personally, it wasn't intended with building a social enterprise. It was intended with helping myself. As a result of that, and being passionate and sharing that story, it's hoping that we can bring others on that journey and show them the power in these tools. We understand it won't work for everybody, but what I always say is I'm not just selling anything. I'm selling something I genuinely believe in because it's impacted my life so profoundly. I want it to help other people as well.
Fabulous. Thank you. Matthew.
Again, me and Joe, we joke about that. We are similar in a lot of ways, and similar for me, really, in the sense that I didn't set out to do this. It's always been important to me to do something I'm passionate about, and say I worked in boxing for many years. And after I went through my own struggles, we hear a lot about kind of men being able to, put on a mask and hide. Well, I can't. I'm not very good at that, unfortunately, fortunately. So it was pretty obvious there was something wrong with me. I'm normally kind of gobby, chatty, whatever. And I could barely speak. I couldn't smile, couldn't laugh. It's like, I said, it's like a surgeon to cut it out of me. And so people were curious. People that knew me when I was better were curious to, we didn't think that could happen to you. And I realized, again, not maybe a bit unusual, but I wasn't shy about talking about it because like everyone had seen the state of me, so I couldn't like deny it. So, and I kind of, because I felt able to talk about it, I felt a responsibility to do what I could. But again, I didn't set out with a plan. I started writing, and it's really weird getting a bit... But there was a lot of things where I just at a certain point, a time I was compelled to do a certain thing. One of them was I started writing. Through that, I got invited to be part of different campaigns. A lot of opportunities came up. And it just kind of evolved, really. And different things in my life and my career led me to a point where I created this program, which is essentially, pulls together all of my... experience, my passions, in a way that I'd found that through, like Joe had done, sharing my own story and writing about it, it resonates with a lot of people. And one of the challenges, I think, is, when you're putting yourself forward as the face of something, particularly when you're not, I don't consider myself someone that wants to be the center of attention or whatever, but I found that I was able to articulate myself and share what I'd been through in such a way that it helped others. And that, I've just got that in me. I want to help. It's such a horrific place to be. The thought of anyone else going through that is just, I just want to do what I can to be able to help.
Thank you. Can you tell us how taking part in Fuel helped you develop your organisations?
Yeah, so one of the big factors for us was the funding. So getting something off the ground to produce something, you need that initial funding to purchase things and make that initial order. So that was a big thing. We were very fortunate to get investment as well as a result of that. So that was a big kickstart for us, a big sort of lifeline to start with. So that was the first thing. But for me, being a big advocate for personal growth anyway, and reading all the books and wanting to absorb everything related to personal growth and well-being anyway, it was getting around these people. So mentorship was huge for us. We got mentorship, we got training, we got support. And that was so valuable as new business owners to get that knowledge, to be around people who've been there, done that, can tell you their mistakes, can tell you their experiences, can tell you everything that they've learned, and build that friendship and support network, really. And then working within the Victoria building as well, you're surrounded by other like-minded people. So you're surrounded by other business owners, people who've got goals, people who are driven. And like I say, with us, personal growth sitting at the forefront, that's exactly what we want to be around. So the support's been huge, and without it, we wouldn't be where we are now, really. So we're really grateful for it.
and the friendship and the way you can trust what they're saying. And there's a lot of people I found who would love to sell you advice, but at Fuel, they're just like, no, this is how it is. And they give you some really, really incredible ways forward. Matthew, can you share your experience?
Yeah, I'm starting all of my answers by saying, well, like Joe, but I think a big one, being driven by a particular social objective, social goal, wanting to make a difference. You can be very driven by your passion, which is good, but it also has, there's that the kind of hard reality of things, the foundations that are needed for a solid business. One of the big ones for me, you can probably guess I can go on a bit, but really getting clarity on my messaging. So someone says, what do you do? Oh, it's boxing, it's brilliant. And you can kind of go, I can go on forever, but getting into some really core messages and recognizing the different, language like, what problem are you solving? Now, you can say easily, well, I'm helping people with depression. But then I got it down to, well, fundamentally, you've got to touch people here as well, stand out from everyone else. And it's like, again, based on my own experience, I want to help you feel like you again. Anyone that's been there will get that, more so than not be depressed. So, and it gave me the space and the support and the expertise to really get into that sort of, again, to make it something that I can market, that I can promote, that it's about more than my passion for it, but that it has a very clear identity of its own, and also that, like Joe said, being around other business owners, also with I'm looking at Steve and, Liz, when we were speaking, I had the opportunity to talk about what we're doing. You can think, it's great and you're driven by this passion, you believe in it, but the fact that other people buy into it as well, because it's hard work and you don't immediately get the rewards, but the opportunities and it takes a lot of hard work, and so you can doubt yourself. So having that kind of reassurance, if you like, that you're doing the right things, you're on the right track, that other people see the potential in what you're doing, it's massive, and yeah, it's been absolutely invaluable. I think the other thing as well, again, particularly when you're driven by this, the thing that it is you're doing, having the time to dedicate to, say, working on the business, not in the business, stepping back, looking at the whole bigger picture, because again, it's very easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, doing this, doing that, doing the other, and losing sight of that bigger picture and the overall direction, and that gave me an opportunity to really get clear on that.
Thank you. Hold on. Matthew, can I ask you, and then Joe, tell me what you're most proud of, maybe the biggest achievement, but also what's like a small achievement that's really quite significant that you've been able to affect through working through Fuel, setting up your organization?
I think the thing that I'm most proud of and that means a lot, first of all, is the actual the programs I do. I mean, with the community program, I do this. Again, it's so significant to me. Like when you have people turn up, the first session. Again, I know where every experience is different, but I know how bad that place is. Getting the boxing gloves on them, and within minutes, they're working together, and I see people smiling and laughing. And going back to what I said, like, I literally couldn't do that for months. And so seeing people doing that in itself is massive. And it's, so there is that every time where something resonates, where it makes a difference, where you see, so there's so many moments like that. I think on an overall thing for me, the fact that all of that, it's something I've created. And given where I've been and where it came from, the fact that I'm here doing this, the fact that I can, my diary is full, because it's something I created. And that means a lot.
Joe.
Yeah, so just following up with that, really, I think one of the big things is, like you say, when you get that feedback, when you've went in and you delivered a talk or you've done a coaching workshop and you get that actual feedback where you've impacted somebody, like there generally isn't a price you can put on that, because when you've been there and you've experienced it and you know that you're making that difference, that's huge. In terms of wins, this is one of the things we always teach is to celebrate all wins. Now, I'm really bad at putting pressure on myself. Like, I put far too much pressure on myself. So there's been a lot of great wins. There's been a lot of lows. It's been an absolute roller coaster already. Biggest wins is obviously things like investment. We've had wins where we've won contracts. We've had wins where we've pivoted slightly with Growth Planner and people was telling us it's a bad idea, and then we won a contract with the council. And it's like, oh, actually there's a bit of validation there. But for as much as there's the big wins, it's actually learning to try and recognize the little ones too, because you get so sort of sighted in your long-term goals, especially being somebody who teaches personal growth, and I'm all for this dream big, like reach for the stars mentality, but sometimes it actually is like stopping and reflecting. And one thing I always say to people, and this is when I coach, is actually reflect a lot on the past. So if I look at where I was, let's say 5 years ago, when I was in this like really dark place, and then I look at where I'm at now, that in itself is a win. So it's actually a win in itself to be generating an idea, creating something. And again, there's no feeling like it when you actually create that. You get the idea, you produce it, and then you get the feedback. It is a roller coaster. It's difficult to pin anything because it's just so up and down all the time.
What tips would you have for any students here tonight looking to start a business? Let's keep it with Joe.
Tips, I would say, just do it. So what I mean by that is obviously do your research, find your problem, look for the solution, find something that you generally care about. But the truth is you've just got to do it. So you can read every textbook, you can read every personal growth book, you can go on every business course, but you learn by doing. So just do it. I sound like Nike there, don't I?
Yeah, Joe stole what I was going to say. It is that, but I think just to extend that a little bit, not trying to one up on you,
No.
but I think that there's so much to do and there's so much to learn. Again, when you start with this, usually people that set up a social enterprise because they've got a particular affinity with this social, they want to make that difference. And I think we can get in our own way. And having been depressed, I'm very familiar with how your brain can tell you what you can't do. And, sometimes I always say if someone had sat me down 10 years ago and, showed me all the things I've done and say, you have to do that, I'd have said, no chance, I can't do that. But it doesn't work like that. I use my boxing analogy, it's one punch at a time. You do the next thing, and then you do the next thing, and then you do that. And yes, you have the overview, but you learn what you need to learn at each step along the way. So it's that thing about not letting the idea that you have to be perfect, you have to know this, that, and the other, as preventing you from starting. It's like Joe said, you just start, and it's through doing it that it reveals the next step and the next thing you need to learn. And for me, it brought me here. I mean, I didn't go out looking for this, but I had no idea. It was pretty random how I found out about. The first course I went on, and it just snowballed, and one led to another, and you meet different people along the way. Things that you can't ever plan for. It is taking that step and believing in yourself and believing in the idea that you have and the difference that you want to make.
Thank you. Yeah, of course, absolutely.
So the other thing that I just want to add as well, and this is something that I always teach when I'm coaching, but ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? So our brains naturally always look for everything that's going to go wrong. I still do that now, but sometimes actually just say, what is the worst that can happen? So say you do try something, it doesn't work out or it fails. You'll learn something from it anyway. So actually just answer that question sometimes, because for me, when I was at my last place of work and I was telling people about this idea, we might get this investment, a lot of people were meeting it with, well, why would you want to leave here? You've got a good pension and you're set up and you're safe. And it's like, yeah, great, but you know what? If it doesn't work out, I'll just come back, or I'll just go and get another job somewhere. And these people, especially, I know since leaving there's a lot of people being laid off. So, like, obviously, which I don't wish on anyone, but it makes you sort of stop and think that actually literally is what the worst that can happen. So if it doesn't work out, you learn from it, you try something new, you see what skills you've got, and then you move on. And that's life, isn't it, really?
It's amazing. Actually, that leads right into the next question, which is, what is the worst advice you've ever received?
I don't know. I don't know if it's the worst advice, but I think the worst message, if you like, that can be picked up is that, you know, people telling you what you can't do, and, you know, people limiting you through their own limitations, essentially, through their own experience. Why it's important to get around people that know the kind, you know, that have been in the arena, if you like. I mean, I was saying to someone earlier that when you're saying about, you know, gaming and people saying, well, that's not a career. When I went to do a sports science degree and I was told that's your hobby. Sport's your hobby, you can't make a career. I ended up being a national manager for England boxing, working with people I used to watch on telly with my dad, you know, and like, never planned. It all came about through, and I get it comes down to worse advice. It's advice that essentially is people putting their stuff on you that tries to drown out your own drive, your own passion, direction. People try to knock that out of you, and then it can be well intentioned but that's it. People want you to be safe, but actually, if you really want to make a difference, you have got to. And like that, I think that, you know, and if it doesn't work, well, do something else. You know, there's always something else. So yeah, that'd be.
I think it was from a different generation. It was all about job security, and then this generation, it's not.
We don't have it.
Is it applicable?
Yeah.
So why not try something?
And one of the big things I learned through experience with my previous employer is I've got to look after me first. And the penny drop moment, it's funny, you have these times in your life where you get a particular lesson that sticks and takes you on to your next thing. And for me, it was, if I can't back myself, how can I expect anyone else to? And now I'm kind of in it for the long haul, and so I'm sort of maybe a bit too stubborn, because whatever, I'm doing this. And I didn't used to have that mind. And the thing, in one of the things in terms of my program, is I always come from, it's because of where I've been that I have that attitude, because nothing can be worse than what I've already been through. Nothing. So, cheers.
Yeah, so my worst advice was, it's just life, get on with it. So what I mean by that is, I knew for a long time that I went to university, I studied a degree, I got a master's degree in sports science. I've always liked sport, and then basically the root of my depression, let's say, stemmed from this feeling of like, well, now what? Like, I don't want to do this, and I felt like this huge failure. And I was job hopping, I was going between different things, and I knew that I just didn't like what I was doing. And everybody was just telling me, it's just life, get on with it. And I thought, I don't like it. I want to do something else, and I just didn't listen to them in the end. So it's like everybody will give you an opinion on what you're supposed to be doing with your life and what direction you're supposed to go in. But fundamentally, it comes down to you and what you want. So sometimes you've just got to disregard those opinions, because opinions are just that, opinions. Everybody will tell you what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. But like, do the work and find out what it is that you truly want to do, and then just don't let people stop you, really. So going back to that, the worst advice is, it's just life, just get on with it, but just don't listen.
That's amazing. Okay, tell us what you hope to see. What do you want to see in your organisation in the next 12 to 18 months?
So I want Nathan to come full time. So obviously it's me sat on stage today, but I do have a business partner, Nathan, who needs a lot of credit for a lot of the stuff that he does in the background as well. So I'd love to get him alongside me in the face of it. Being able to employ other people as well, so we can bring people in to support us, because you quickly realise when you're running a business, it can be chaos. But just establishing ourselves, really. Like I say, I'm not being arrogant when I say this. I genuinely think we make really good products. So it's just wanting to get the name out for Semester, get the name out for Growth Planner, and keep building these case studies and keep showing people what we can do. And then, like I say, hopefully get to that position where we're really comfortable and Nathan's with me. We're doing it alongside each other, and we're impacting people's lives, because that's fundamentally what we're trying to teach with the tools that we do teach. So that's where I hope to get to, really.
Fabulous. Matthew, next 12 to 18 months for you, sir.
A big one for me is it's getting into workplaces and delivering what I do there. That people are surprised, and I probably am. The community programs that I do, they're in boxing clubs, obviously boxing themed, and it's 80 to 90% women that attend, which I don't have a problem with. I want to help as many people as I can, but it illustrates, I think, a big issue, which is that the big issue that still really needs tackling with men is being able to say, I need help, and going out, and because you're making yourself visible then. You're showing that you need help, and a lot of men really struggle with that. So the big thing I want to do is you've got to meet them where they are with a message that'll land. With men, I dare say I'll speak for a lot of people in the room, it can't happen to me until it does. But then when it does, that's when all of that stigma crowds in. You don't know what to do, you don't know what. So I can go into a workplace and talk about mental health and show them facts and figures. Not relevant, never happened to me. I've created something whereby I can show them we're all made of the same stuff, and I know that if I do this, you'll react like that, because your brain is bigger and stronger than you are, and it's trying to protect you. But it can do that in a way that's not going to be good for you, and the more likely to think, and then if they are in that position, hopefully, the more likely to remember and to feel that they can. And again, boxing's really powerful. The examples you can give, Tyson Fury is the obvious one. I mean, if it can bring someone 6'9" to their knees, biggest, strongest man in the world, it can do it to anyone. And people can argue with me, but you can't really argue with that. So yeah, I want to get into business and address that. Another thing, I have a team of trainers that are delivering my community programs beyond, across the country. Although that'll take a bit longer than 12 months.
Fabulous. What parting shots have you got for this audience tonight? I'm going to come back, again, don't know how relevant it is, but come back to one of the biggest personal lessons for me that in life, in business, has been very powerful, which is the fact that the worst things that happen in your life can lead you directly to the very best. And we have this thing about, we achieve in spite of sometimes, but actually we can achieve directly because of those things. It was interesting about, you gave the example of your toe, and life has a really funny, without getting on, but life has a really strange way of putting you into situations where Steve Jobs talked about connect the dots. And taking that when we're going through those challenges, that, this can be teaching something that in your rear view mirror you can see, if it wasn't for that. And, I like to say, I don't like to be, check me out. You can, but I don't. But it is that, but I'm happy to use myself as an example, because I would never have thought I could have done half of what I've done. And I haven't. I wouldn't have done if it wasn't because of that I'd been through. So, so always hang on to that. We never know how the bad things that we're going through are going to look in the when they're part of where they're only a chapter in our story, not the full story. I really love that, and I love that for so many reasons, and I think one of them is that when you are going through a bad time, you look at it as temporary, you move through it to the good times, you don't stay stuck there, and I think that's really, really valuable. Thank you. Joe, what parting words do you have? What would you like to give this audience?
So just going back to what I said before, if you're thinking about doing it, just do it. Start speaking to people, start doing your research, start finding out what it is that you want to do. And I'm going to go to my motivational stuff now, by the way. But there's a book that I read which always stuck with me, and it's by Bronnie Ware, and it's called Regrets of the Dying. And one of the biggest regrets was people not living a life true to themselves. And I always think if I'd have stood and I'd have listened to everybody who told me it's just life, get on with it, when I was miserable and unhappy doing what I was doing, I'd never be doing what I'm doing now. And I don't know where the next 5-10 years will end up. There's going to be lots of bumps, challenges, it might go in a different direction, but I just never want to look back and think, oh, you know what, if only. So if you're thinking about doing it, just do it and start speaking to people.
And where can we buy these from?
Yeah, so you can get them at semesterstudentplanner.com. If you want to follow me, I'm on LinkedIn. It's Joe Hilton. You can find Joe Hilton PD on Instagram as well. But you'll generally, if you find me on LinkedIn through Joe Hilton, you'll find all this stuff because I shout about it every day because I love it.
And Matthew, where can we find you?
Obviously, all socials, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. But my website, www.knockoutdepression.co.uk.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you
you.
so much for coming here tonight. Guys, can we give them a really big round of applause? Thank you. Thank you. And now we're into the final section, which is where everyone gets to stand up and network and talk to our incredible panelists tonight. I really want to thank everybody who's been up here tonight and shared so truthfully their stories, has given so many great practical tips and also some inspiration as well. So I thank the panelists. I also want to thank you, the audience. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. It's great to see so many people here. And I hope you come out to the next one and the next one and that you've managed to take something from tonight and tell everyone about it. I also want to say a really big thank you to Launchpad and their Fuel program, and to Adam Clements, and to Stephen Goodall, and Lizzie Dixon, and Steve Dugan. So, guys, can I ask that you all stand up, come and talk to the panelists, and ask them whatever questions you want to ask them. And please, tonight, have a safe journey, and stay warm, stay well, stay wealthy. Thank you very much, everyone.